You're welcome to the final session of learning to keep secret from your spouse. Now, I've established very many important points that for relationships to work, you must learn to keep secrets. It is very important that you, as a husband or as a wife, should learn to keep secret. And more important for both of you, as a spouse, that is, as a team, as a married couple, rather, to learn together to keep secret. Because when both of you know how to keep secret as believers for the good of your partner, for the good of the family, then there will not be suspicion. There will also not be guilt because there would be understanding. Now, this is very, very important. But where a partner knows why he or she should keep secret and is taught how to keep secret, but the other person does not appreciate biblical reasons, Christian reasons why a spouse should keep any kind of secret, you see, there's going to be a problem. There's going to be a problem. So I encourage you, even as you go through this series, that you encourage your spouse to also go through the teaching. Very, very important. Now today, in the final edition, the final episode, I'm dealing with how to keep secrets. Having established the kind of information you should keep secret and reasons for which you should keep secret from your spouse. Today, I'm looking at how to keep secrets. But first, Proverbs chapter 11, verse 13 tells us something. It says, a gossip betrays confidence, but a trustworthy person keeps secret. Very important text. You know, a gossip, one who does not know how to keep information secret, how to keep information until the appointed time, until the due season. You know, shares it, does not know when to keep it secret and when to share. So he shares it all around. Sometimes we gossip even to our spouses. Certain things that we should keep secret from our spouses until the appropriate season by the wisdom of God. Sometimes we rarely can even keep secret from our spouses. So we are gossips. Sometimes, get it, we gossip our family to our spouses. We gossip our friends to our spouses. Sometimes we gossip our offices to our spouses. Yes, certain information we should leave for the appropriate time. When we come to our spouses, we just divulge. This is already established in the past episodes. There are certain things that your friends shared with you as their friend. Counselees shared with you as their pastor or as their counselor. Not really for you to share with your spouse. There are information like this that you have from your office. Certain codes, certain passwords, certain confidential information that are shared with you as a staff. Not really to be shared with your spouse. That's that. And then also established, there are certain information that is even about the marriage, is about your life, is about other things that might not necessarily be kept secret. But because of the nature of your spouse, the weaknesses and strength of your spouse, some spouses, the moment you say it, they too will share it with others. And that is how it goes when it is not yet time for it to be brought public. So you might keep it. I will not go back to that lesson. There are many reasons why certain information should be kept from your spouse. Go to the second episode, you will find it there. Now, a trustworthy person keeps secret. A trustworthy person does not only hide information. A spouse that you trust keeps secret, which means this spouse knows what information to keep and wait for the due time, and what information to share. And your spouse is a trustworthy person. You trust that if your wife decides not to share a particular information, you trust her that it is because it is not time for it. Because it is not at the best interest of the family to share it at that point in time. That's a trustworthy person we're talking about. A trustworthy person keeps secret. Take note. And you share it with the person, believing that the person will keep it for an appointed time. So if you must be trusted, you must know how to keep secret, when to share such secrets, and when to share such information. Now, there are ways that we keep secret that doesn't make us trustworthy. Take note of it. Already established from the last lesson again, that there are certain information that should be secret, but there are those that if you, on your own, decide to keep secret, you are not a trustworthy person because you are withholding information that should be for the benefit of your spouse, for the benefit of the family. And it is for selfish reasons that you're keeping it away. But a trustworthy person, number one, keeps the information secret, still keeps it until the appropriate time, because that will bring the glory of God. That is what will please God. That is how God would want you to have it. To the best of your conviction, God would want you to keep it secret until a time that he would want you to share. So even if you feel like sharing, you might not share, you should not share, because it is not going to bring glory to God, because that is not how God would want it to be. So you keep it secret for the glory of God. That at the end of the day, when you share it, it shall be to God be the glory. As you keep it, it shall be to God be the glory. Number two, you also keep secrets for the benefit of your spouse. You keep this information secret until the appropriate time, so that the interest of your spouse will be defended. Very important. It's not just for your best interest. Based on priority, like I said, for the interest of God. Secondly, for the interest of your spouse. It is thirdly that you look at your personal interest. But very unfortunately, for carnal reasons, people withhold information from their spouses, first for their interest. First for their own, to defend their own interest. Because they have done certain things wrong and they are afraid of the consequences that will come upon them. So they now want to keep the information secret and will want to quote this teaching wrongly. But that's not right. You don't keep your personal interest first. Even if it's going to even if it's going to have crucial, terrible consequences on you, but it's going to glorify God and it's going to be for the best of your spouse and your marriage, you share it. Because you cannot keep those information secret for your personal reasons first. No, it should not be your personal reasons first. Now, so that's very, very important. So when you are going to keep your personal info, you're going to keep information secret, there must not be lies. Lies cannot glorify God. Lie is the language of the devil. If you're going to keep it secret, so how are you going to keep it secret? Number one, how are you going to keep information secret from your spouse? Number one, make sure that you pray. Very important. Pray concerning the information. Ask for God's counsel and ask him to show you how to keep secret, what method of keeping secrets, because there are different methods. I'll go down to that. There are different methods. Let him give you wisdom to decide which way is the best. Let him also give you right motives, and let him also take charge of the situation. We will see how God can take charge of the situation. Because God can decide to make your spouse not to ask you certain things. Your spouse could be very inquisitive. You know that after that transaction, that contract, when you come back home, the first thing your spouse is going to ask you, after asking you whether it went through or not, is the amount, the interest, and your spouse can have room for details, but you want to keep an amount from it for that surprise birthday you want to throw for her. And it is going to be a surprise. It's a secret birthday. It's surprise birthday, so you have to keep it secret. You cannot tell her you're setting aside that money for. Or it is for that surprise building that you both had agreed on. She does not know that you started on it. You want to take it to a stage before you share it. Now, so You don't want her to ask the details, or you don't want your husband to ask the details, because part of the proceeds you will use for this secret project that at the end of the day will be a surprise for your family. So you pray about it and you will be surprised how God will handle it. Your spouse could just come, how did the transaction go? Okay, so this and that, and will not go into the details. So God has covered the details. So from it, a good chunk will be kept, which you will use to pursue the secret project. At the end of the day, now take note, when you come to sharing the information, when the due season comes, the appropriate time to share what was a secret, now you're going to give the details, and you must give proper account, and that your spouse will be satisfied with it. So, but meanwhile, God, pray to God, and God will keep it a secret. That when you give a particular information, it will just suffice. Number two, there are situations where when you are confronted, when you are asked a particular information that you know you must keep secret, you outrightly, having prayed, will tell your partner that you cannot share this information until an appropriate time. Whatever it is, you know that it could even be that you had done wrong. In fact, let's take the worst of it. It could be that you fell into adultery, and your spouse is beginning to suspect and throws a direct question asking you, are you going out with this person or not? Are you going out with the secretary or not? And the question is, what do you do? Do you just have to answer it because your spouse asked? No, you don't have to. Because if your spouse is not ready for the answer at that point and you give the answer, it's really going to wreak havoc. You rather should get your spouse, you rather should allow your spouse to get angry because you did not answer, rather than give the information trying to avoid the provocation, and give the information at the wrong time that will do greater damage to your spouse, to the marriage, to the children, and to the community and the church. And eventually you can just choose to say, see dear, I cannot give you any answer right now, but don't worry, I'm going to give you full details. Just give me some time. Yes, it might come with a suspicion that it's because you are guilty. It is still better that it is a suspicion which cannot be concluded. And you're promising your spouse you're going to share the information at the appropriate time, and make sure you keep the promise and share all relevant information at the appropriate time. So there are instances that you tell your spouse, sorry, I cannot give you any information at this point in time. It could be concerning somebody who came for counseling, and your spouse saw it, or saw her, or saw him. What did this person come for? What did this person come for? What is this person's problem? And you cannot share it at that point in time because it is still in the process of being kept confidential. You still will tell your spouse outrightly that, no, sorry, I cannot share it at this point in time. At the appropriate time, I will share it with you. Simple. And when your spouse gets teaching like this, your spouse should also understand and respect, knowing the significance of confidentiality, in different situations. Now, this is very, very important. This is very, very important. Now, take note of it. You must build that trust. That trust helps you to keep secret. That when you say, I'm not sharing at this point, your spouse will know and trust you that it is because the reason is good enough. So it is something you should work on. And your spouse should be able to say concerning your life that I know my husband, I know my wife, that see, even if it is the wrong that he or she does, he shares it without fearing the consequences if there is a need to share it. It's simple. When your spouse trusts you that you damn the consequences as long as it is the right thing to do, that if you are not sharing, it's not because you want to protect yourself, it's just because it is not in the best interest of God and the family. That's why you're not sharing at that point. See, your spouse will still have some peace. Now, this is very important. So, like I said, there are instances that you have to outrightly concerning some issues tell your spouse, I'm not sharing it now until the appropriate time. And let them just know that no matter the pushing, It's said curiosity kills a cat. When people know that there's information to be shared, they will continue pressing you. When you say it and you mean it, it helps your spouse to just calm down, knowing that there cannot be success in putting pressure. That's number one. Number two, another way of keeping a secret is to just give the answer in a nutshell. Yes, sometimes just give the answer in a nutshell. There are instances that you don't give the details because the details are the ones that are terrible. Imagine a girl going out, or let's even say imagine a wife who had committed certain immoral acts, who had slept with certain people before she was married. And now her husband married her. She had told him she had committed atrocities before. Now in marriage, he begins to ask her the details. Have you ever slept with, maybe he saw the way somebody looked at you. Have you ever gone out with that person? Yes, I've ever gone out with this person. Maybe initially you never mentioned names, but now he suspects that this person, yes, did you go out with him? So what happened? And he or she wants the details. Have you ever slept with him? How many times did you sleep with him? How did it go? Why did this? No. I'm just telling you the truth. Such will end up doing havoc to your spouse. No. At best, what you can just say is to give the answer in a nutshell and say, yes, we went out. I was in the world. So what do you expect? Don't begin to ask me how many times and all these details, whether we got pregnant, whether we ever aborted, whether we had. No. Don't even go into giving of these details. Such answers, give them in a nutshell. And then at the appropriate time, having gone through counseling, having also prepared your spouse, then you can share it. And then the devil will not take advantage of it, and it's not going to affect your spouse and affect your marriage the way the enemy would want to. So you give certain answers in a nutshell and just insist, and when your spouse pushes, tell them that no, at the appropriate time, you would share the details. Now, see, this is a double-edged sword. Just like I'm now sharing with you to give the answer in a nutshell and you expect your spouse to respect. That is how also you too should respect your spouse. When your spouse gives you an answer in a nutshell, yes, it shall not be a different principle for you. If you expect your spouse to take it, that at the due time you're going to share it, at this point in time, an answer in a nutshell should suffice. You two should have the same attitude. You two should have the same attitude. Spouses should have the same attitude. So please take note of it. That's number two. You give certain answers in a nutshell. Now, number three there, you see, sometimes as Christians, you give answers in faith. If you read Genesis chapter 22, when God told Abraham, go take your Isaac, your only son, that you love, and sacrifice him for me on the mountain I'm going to show you. So how do you expect Abraham to begin to share that kind of information with Sarah? How do you expect Abraham to begin to share that information even with Isaac? So I don't know how he handled Sarah, but surely you can be very sure he didn't tell Sarah. He must have found one excuse or the other. And then by morning, he set out for the mountain. On the third day, he got to Mount Moriah, where he was going to sacrifice his son Isaac. He went with two of his servants. He told them, wait for us here. We will go there, make the sacrifice, and come back. Can you imagine? They were going to make the sacrifice, and they were going to come back together, and then they were going to go back home. Was he right, or did he lie? Then, when he was moving with his son said, Father, here I have the firewood, you have the fire, and you have the knife. Where is the lamb for the sacrifice? What did he say? He said, don't worry, my son, God will provide. God will provide the lamb. Did God tell him he was going to provide? What did God ask him to go do? God asked him to go sacrifice his son. So was he really lying? So we have a principle to learn here. Truly speaking, Abraham was not lying, because in the New Testament, it is explained to us that Abraham actually made those confessions by faith. He believed that he will have his son back. And the Bible tells us that truly speaking, he got his son back, because in his heart, he already had slaughtered Isaac. But he believed that God was going to give him his son back. So he got his son back. And God provided the lamb, and eventually he went back with his son the way he had told his servants. So that was a confession of faith. Sometimes you keep secrets because you know if you share the details, they're going to have very terrible negative consequences. They could even abort God's will. So you share the outcome. Just like sometimes you are sick, feeling very sick, and you know if you share it, you know your spouse could be grounded. So how is it? It is well. The Bible says, say to the righteous, it is well. And you sometimes share with the people around you who are concerned about your state, who do not have your kind of faith that is going to work out well. Sometimes you share your faith with them. You share the eventual outcome. How is it going? How are you feeling? How is your health? What do you say? Say it is well. Say, I'm healed. But you know what you're carrying. You know you're still feeling the pain. You know that medically speaking, you're still sick. But spiritually speaking, based on the word of God, by his stripes, we were healed. That's what 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 24 tells us. We were healed. We're healed in the past. It's already a past thing. You are just waiting for the manifestation of what is already settled in the spiritual. You're waiting for the physical manifestation. So, such confession of faith, where your faith really says yes, but you can't deceive yourself. Where your faith doesn't say yes and you are just using a spiritual language to cover it, that is deception. And God will not be involved in it. Abraham believed that God was going to give him back his son because he had promised him that through Sarah, he was going to give him a generation. He believed that this is the son. And he had prayed, he believed God was going to give him back the son. So that which you want to cover by the language of faith, do you really, really believe? Or are you in doubt? If you confess what is in doubt is a lie, is a deception. So, take note of it. There are certain things that we tell our spouses. We don't share it to discourage them about the state of things. We just share in faith. How is the business going? It's going well. Because you know she's already losing her breath. She's already getting very worried. You say it's well and you don't begin to go giving the details of the physical parameter. No. You are declaring it by faith. That's another way to keep secrets, to share your faith. Sometimes you try to avoid the question. For instance, you came from that surprise project that you are embarking on, and you don't want your spouse to know about that surprise project you are actually embarking on for the good of the family. So the question is, where are you coming from? So what would you say? Would you say, I'm coming from supervising that building project? Where are you coming from is the real question. So, and you should not lie. As a Christian, to lie is a sin. You should not use wrong for so-called good intentions. The end does not justify the means. A lie is a lie. Don't be deceptive. Now, so what would you say? You try to change the topic. You try to avoid the question and just move to another issue. And you say, today in the office, the way it went, or when I was passing, you see, I saw this person and he said, I should greet you. And you bring up something that will catch your spouse's attention. This is very important. And prayerfully, you are praying in your mind that God should just take the attention of your spouse from it to another thing. Yes. So you change it. You change it. For you to come and say, see, don't ask about this, that is usually the last resort. For you to go into saying, outrightly, I'm not gonna share this with you. Just wait for the appointed time. That is the last resort. If you can just switch and change topics, good and fine. If you can do that, good and fine. And pray that God will help you do that. So those are very important tips. And finally, I tell you, for you to keep secret, I advise you to see a counselor. Most especially secrets of wrong that are done, that you're wondering how you're going to share with your spouse, or secrets that you are not sure whether it is right to keep or it is not right to keep. Seek the advice of a counselor. Very, very important. Very important. Most especially where it has to do with some wrong in your life, whether wrong done now or wrong done long ago that your spouse didn't know and you had not shared, and now it could spill out and it can affect your spouse, it can affect your marriage, it can affect your relationship. Seek the advice of a counselor, because the counselor one will prepare you on what is right, will tell you what is right, share with you what is right, prepare you, and pray with you. Then also will prepare your spouse, will seek time with your spouse, will seek the attention of your spouse, prepare your spouse to handle information like that before the information will finally be disclosed, and you will also be counseled on how to disclose it. So this is very important. Don't forget, if you don't know how to keep secrets, your relationship is already under threat. Whether you like it or not, your relationship must be affected if you do not know how to keep secrets. So learn, and learn very, very well. So remember, this is Ezekiel Ashom's relationship niche. I encourage you to subscribe to this channel. Go to the subscribe button to encourage this work. Go and press the subscribe button and share this video to others so that they also will be blessed. Ask your questions, drop your comments. The Lord bless you.